Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rogue Conversations, or our second episode. Like I said last time we did this, we're going to kind of sprinkle these in between some of our Rogue Kitchen episodes, almost like a sister show here and there. Um, Last time we spoke with Meg Brown about CBD in the classroom. This week we are going to talk about a few things. So we have a special guest, actually two guests technically. Jason will be joining us on most of these now. So he's coming to join us on this. And then Alicia Milanowski from the MSU Denver I'm sure, Student Care Center. And she's with the food pantry. So let me go ahead and bring them on screen here. So we got Alicia over here, Jason down here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the food pantry on campus, the different programs that we have at the Student Care Center, different opportunities for students, as well as cooking on a budget for the holiday season, and a little bit about the next cooking shows that we have coming up. Um, so let's kick it off with Alicia. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Student Care Center, some of the programs you have going on, and we can start to have our discussion there.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. As Jimmy mentioned, my name is Alicia Milanowski, and I serve as the Associate Director for Basic Needs and Public Benefit Initiatives in the Student Care Center. And that long roundabout title, what it really means is, and I hope it shows my commitment and our commitment to supporting students at MSU Denver. So as Jimmy mentioned, there's a lot of programs that are housed within the Student Care Center. I'll start with some specifically that I'm connected to on a day-to-day basis. Jimmy mentioned the Roadrunner Food Pantry and all the programs that come out of there. I have day-to-day connection with those. In addition to the food pantry, that's somewhat connected to my title that I mentioned, is our public benefit initiatives. This is an area that's really growing that we're going to start pushing heavily outreach on in the spring 2021 semester, but we've been amping up during these virtual times to get out as much support as we can to students, because we know in general students need as much support as possible in school, especially during these unprecedented times. So for example, some supports that we offer through the Student Care Center when it comes to public benefits are food assistance. Many of you may have heard of SNAP, our Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. We can help you in the Student Care Center apply to that. And most students don't even realize that that's something that they are eligible based off the mere fact of being a student, right? And being limited in terms of how many hours they can work combined with school. We also provide assistance with Medicaid for those students that need assistance with insurance. Health insurance is extremely expensive, and so we can assist students in navigating all their options and applying for Medicaid as well. And those are just some basic introductions that we have to the public benefit world, but those, like I mentioned, will continue to grow as this academic year goes on. So those are just some areas I'm really connected to. Some other areas that we really want to make sure students know about that are housed within the Student Care Center is mainly, first off, our Student Emergency Fund. During these unprecedented times, if students experience an unexpected, unforeseen financial need, they can apply to our Student Emergency Fund. In addition to our Student Emergency Fund, we also have a Dreamer Emergency Fund. That's for our DACA undocumented and Dreamer students specifically, that also serves for that assistance. I want to highlight that as well. In general, our center main focus is to provide holistic case management support to students. So I always like to tell students, if I or any of my colleagues, if we're not someone that can help you immediately with a need you have, we see ourselves as the resource to help you find that and be that middleman. That way you're not navigating the university experience, let alone resources off campus by yourself. Another program that's housed in our area is our Epic Scholars program. So it's a cohort program that's designed to support students that navigated in their life through the foster system or declared independent individual. So we support students as well through there and have a case manager specifically dedicated to support those students.
That's great.
And that's a general gist. I'm talking a lot. I apologize, but want to make sure I cover all the areas that we support with as well.
No, that's cool. And so actually, let's go back to the application for public benefits. When you had
Sure.
mentioned that when we first talked, I got on to the programs and looked at it, and like the applications are they're definitely kind of lengthy, and there's a lot of information in there that students may not know. And so it's really awesome that you guys are like helping them go through this. So what does that process look like though? Do they connect with you, and then you go through it online together? What kind of information are they required to share? I'm just trying to think of any questions that students may have or hesitations that they may have of going through this with someone, and try to ease that and make it a little bit more comfortable for them. So
Oh, for sure. No, absolutely. What I'll start off by saying is it depends on what public benefit students want to apply to, and we really cater it to their specific experience, right? That's important to us. Given it is a lot of personal information that's often asked for on these applications.
hmm
So I'll give you an example. We're here to talk about fall and food. If we're looking to apply for food assistance, I have narrowed down our process to about 15 minutes. So
wow,
students can
that's
literally
crazy.
reach out to us. Yeah, and that's important to us because we know students' time is valuable, especially during these times, that we want to get them in and out, but also feel confident about not only what they're providing and what to expect moving forward. So students, yes, can reach out to us directly through any of our communication platforms, and we can talk about that more of how to get directly connected to us. And a case manager can literally obtain all the information they need to not only assist the student in applying, but we apply on their behalf with their permission as well, to get them in and out and hopefully connected with assistance as quickly as possible.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah,
so
and
just
for
just
any
to highlight.
students out there watching, I'm actually going to put the Student Care Center email address in the comments, so you can go and copy and paste that, and you can send inquiries, questions, and such to. I'm sure it gets filtered, goes into the offices, and filtered out to everybody that it's appropriate to. But just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
every time I've interacted with the Student Care Center, it's been amazing. I've referred a few students, quite a few students actually, to the Care Center for such a variety of things. And your team over there is always so helpful and so excited to get in there and help these students. So I do want to say thank you for that. Absolutely. Um,
Thank you.
and let's see here.
So, Alicia, I just want to ask, like, how do you get the word out? Other than, I'm sure there are people like Jimmy that refer students to the care center, but what initiatives or what actions is the caretaker, or excuse me, is the care center taking to make sure that students know about you, to begin with?
Awesome. No, that's a great question. And I will say it's an ever evolving process, right? Because there's so many different communication channels on campus. And we know students just are getting flooded with information, especially during this time. So some of the areas that we strategically reach out to is with our Roadrunner Food Pantry program. Any student that's registered through the Roadrunner Food Pantry, we connect to and communicate to on a regular basis. And I'll talk about that more, Jimmy, if you want to talk more about some of the food pantry programs we have. So we reach out to them not only for food pantry initiatives, but also different public benefit initiatives that we have going on. We also get a lot of our student connection through our care referral process. Students may hear on campus of the care team or a care referral being filed on their behalf. That's a great way that we're actually connecting to students during this time. A lot of students don't know this. They can submit their own referral on their behalf. We're seeing an
Oh,
increase in
I
those.
didn't know that.
Yes.
Huh.
So students can go in there and put their own information and submit it to get connected, similar to how they'd email Jimmy to the email that you
hmm
provided. Students could talk to either one of you, Jason or Jimmy, and say, hey, I'm struggling. I want to do this. And a staff member could highlight that as an area that they want to get connected through the care referral process. So I would say that's the majority of how we're getting connected. But just so you both know, and any students watching this as well, like I mentioned, we're gearing up to have some more intensive outreach efforts on these initiatives in the spring. The university is deeply committed to investing in whatever we can to reach students in convenient and user-friendly ways and trustworthy ways. So just know we're working on better ways to even reach students that may be eligible for these benefits. But that's just a couple examples.
Nice.
That's
Awesome.
great. We have a lot of students that work full time on campus or who have families, and you know, going to school or completing school is a huge job in and of itself. You know, you have all the other things you need to take care of, and even if you don't have families or whatever, but or a job. But, no, it's great that the university really likes to take care of their students in that regard.
Absolutely. And if I may touch on this, I don't want to occupy too much time,
Oh
but
no,
you brought up
we're
some
here for you.
Yep.
you brought up something that's really important and that highlighted in my mind that we usually use in our marketing to students, right? Is given all the different hats we say they're wearing and responsibilities they carry, it's hard to prioritize what you spend your time on, right? And when it comes down to it, fulfilling students' basic needs is a huge priority for us, not only because we want them to be fulfilled, but they'll be more successful in school, right? They're going to be able to dedicate and invest more in their education if other areas are taken care of. So, one of the things that I often mention is for a household of one, right? If a student is applying for themselves, just themselves for SNAP, they could be eligible for up to $204 a month for
Oh
food.
wow.
That's a substantial amount. And depending on their situation or their household, say there's two people, three, four, however it goes up of whoever's living in the home, that amount increases, right? And it goes up from there that they could be eligible to receive to support their household. So I did not want to leave today without mentioning that for food assistance, because that's a substantial amount of money that's not coming out of a student's already really tight budget.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on the food and everything, you mentioned the food pantry, or the mobile food. Is it the Auraria mobile food pantry? Is that correct?
Yes, Auraria Mobile Food Pantry. Did you want me to talk a little bit about what that is and
Yeah, so I mean,
what
I'm
we're
sure
doing?
students who know about the food pantry know where the traditional location is, but how is all that operating? I know everybody pivoted in the summer or in the spring, and
Yep.
things have changed now. And I think you mentioned
Yeah.
that there's a new location that you guys tried out that was far more successful than being downtown. And so let's talk about that new location and
Yeah.
how that whole operation works.
Absolutely. Yes. So you brought up the Roadrunner Food Pantry. Anyone that knows of the Roadrunner Food Pantry, the physical location, or even who doesn't, it's important to know right now that physical location is not open, largely due to the community health crisis, and just us not being able to distribute in the way that we used to distribute food. So, in the absence of that physical location, MSU Denver actually joined in with CU Denver and the Community College of Denver to create a tri-institutional mobile food pantry. We're really fortunate to have Food Bank of the Rockies sponsor that event, and they come out twice a month, the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. These are on the Roadrunner Food Pantry website too, in case anyone wants to know the specific dates and location. So that's been happening since April. What's recently changed, like Jimmy mentioned, is we started offering a second location on the fourth Tuesday of the month. So the second Tuesday of the month is still at Auraria in the Walnut parking lot, from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. But the second location is actually at the Community College of Aurora, the Lowry campus. And we did that strategically to try to broaden out and reach our Roadrunners that aren't, as well as the other students that aren't in the metro area right now because of the current community health crisis. And we saw a lot of success in that. So we're really proud of that. But yeah, that will continue on through December, and most likely beyond. But we've been doing it kind of on a semester basis to determine the need right now. But that's one of the areas that we're supporting students in the absence of our closed physical Roadrunner food pantry.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really great that you're able to
Yeah.
take the mobile food pantry, take it to the students so that way they don't have to go too far. Because all our students are so many of them are commuters, and everybody's commuting in when we were going face to face, and so kind of meeting them where they are is just a really awesome idea. So
Yeah. And for anyone that needs to know too, because I've had a lot of students reach out to us specifically, and that's another piece I'll mention in a minute of what we're doing to try to support students in this time is students have had concerns like, what does it look like when I get there? What can I expect in order to get food? And it's really, we try to make it as contactless as
hmm
possible. So students can either walk up or drive up, and the volunteers will load it right into the car. Students do fill out a brief Food Bank of the Rockies has them fill out a brief electronic form, just making sure that we're asking a couple questions to meeting their needs. But students get often a giant box of food along with some additional produce. So there's been eggs,
Oh,
fruit,
awesome.
milk, um, a lot of non-perishables. Sometimes there will be meat as well, but some students are obviously, depending on what they're doing, they can elect to take that option or not. But yeah, just so that students know what to expect if they go.
Ah, that's great. Yeah, and so similarly, we do our food pickups for our classes, and as the students pull up and we go put everything in their trunk, Jason's going to be doing that for the next 2 days for one of the last distributions for our class. I'm
Awesome.
also going to go ahead and post in here in the comments a link to donate to the Roadrunner Food Pantry. And I'm assuming donating to the Roadrunner Food Pantry then goes to the tri-institutional efforts, correct?
So in theory, yes, but we have been fortunate enough where we have been selected as just another stop for Food Bank of the
Oh, great.
Rockies. Right now, this is a great segue, Jimmy. Thank you. You're being awesome in transitioning my topics. So any donations to the Roadrunner Food Pantry are going directly to Roadrunners. So for example, we recognize that not all can go to these events. So if students who are in need can contact us, our big thing right now is if you are in need, contact us so we can get you specific assistance wherever you are, because our Roadrunners are everywhere right now. But we are really amping up our support and fundraising so we can send electronic gift cards to students so they can buy groceries on their own. That's something so anyone that donates to that effort, that's where it's directly going. And it's also going right now to support our fall baskets that we're going to be distributing to students in need. So I can talk more about that whenever you want me
Great.
to.
Well, hey, let's talk about it. That'll kind of lead into our
Sure.
cooking on a budget, and we're gonna have a conversation just offline with us about how that's gonna work out. But yeah, let's hear your ideas on it and where we're gonna go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so right now we're doing signups for fall baskets, and I'll be sure to provide that information too if need be. We're getting it out to a lot of different groups on campus right now, but students can sign up if they're in need to receive a fall basket, which will include non-perishable items, specifically connected to holiday foods that may be connected around Thanksgiving holiday, but anything fall related. So we're packing those baskets with fall related food, and we're also including a King Soopers gift card in there as well, so students can buy their protein of their choice at their local King Soopers. So yeah, that's something that we're going to be launching, like you said, but we're recruiting signups right now for that. So I'll be sure to.
Cool. Is that sign up going to be on
that.
the Student Care Center? Because I did link that in the comments as well. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So any students looking for any of this information, check out the first link I posted, which is the Student Care Center's website, and everything should be there.
And you can reach out to us too via email, whatever's convenient for them, and we can always get them the direct link if they're having any issues. Just so students know they have multiple ways to reach us.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Jason. Those baskets out. Sorry, Jim. Are those baskets going out on November 16th to the 20th? Is that? Yeah.
Yes. So what we're doing is having signups right now for students who are interested in receiving one, and promoting that it will require, this is a good point that I should mention, it will require in-person pickup. And we're going to be, depending on what students sign up to receive one, they'll get specific instructions on where and when to pick those up once we finalize details on distribution and see our numbers.
And so speaking of that week, the 16th to the 20th, that's the National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, right? And
yes.
So I think we're going to collaborate a little bit on Rogue Kitchen with our cooking show in a couple weeks. Is there anything else that you're doing during the National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week?
Yes. So marketing will go out also on our website. So keep that website handy later this week of the different events taking place. So on Monday, the 16th, we'll have a SNAP event. So the food assistance I talked about earlier, if students are like, hey, I want to try it out and talk about it, students will be able to sign up through our website for a 15-minute time slot, like I mentioned. So that Monday is specifically going to be dedicated towards SNAP. On Tuesday, our Vice President for Student Affairs is actually going to be giving a presentation on his connection and passion when it comes to public benefits and basic needs. So that will also be advertised there, how students can tune into that. Another thing that is going to be happening that week is, like we mentioned, the distribution of the bags. So more details to come. And then finally, on Friday, it's going to be dedicated to Medicaid. So there will be details of how students, if they want to apply to Medicaid, can sign up on Friday, similarly to the SNAP through our website.
Very cool. That's so cool that all these things are going on. And I'm really glad to, try to help get this out to everybody. Well, so I think, that's your expertise. I think let's switch over and get all three of us full size here, and let's have a conversation about food. So we wanted to kind of talk about like different tips and hacks to do fall dinners or harvest dinners or Thanksgiving dinners on a budget. And so I've got some bullet point notes, and I'm sure we'll just kind of use those as starting points. And Jason and I can talk forever about food, but I'd love to get your opinion too on what your traditions are and like how your harvest dinner hacks, if you will. So I mean, first of all, when it comes down to trying to do this on a budget, because there's been years where, and like, even when I was in college, we had a bunch of friends and we would do Friendsgiving, and we would just kind of go all out. People would bring salmon, we'd do prime rib, turkey, everything. And then a few weeks later, we're like, oh, it's Christmas, and now I spent all my money on Thanksgiving. And so we definitely learned as a group of friends, as a family, and doing dinners with my family to start planning and budgeting. And it's a big meal. And even if we're doing it on a smaller scale this year with just our family, we want to plan it correctly so we weren't overproducing and throwing food away, because nobody likes to throw money in the trash, right? And so, I mean, I distinctly remember when I first laid out an entire plan for a Thanksgiving dinner when I was living down with my father in Louisiana, and we had 35 people coming between my family, some of our extended family, and then his wife's family and extended family. And I was just 3 weeks before, I was like, how are we going to do this? And so we actually got a big old whiteboard out, scheduled out all the days, and started marking out, we came up with a menu, and then on the side I made all the recipes, taped the recipes up to the whiteboard. I mean, it was like a full production show. And then we wrote out all the days, and then the days we're going to do certain things that could be prepped and frozen, ready, reheated, and whatever. But it was literally an 8-foot whiteboard that we just filled up. But it helped us stay on budget, and we didn't have too many leftovers, and the leftovers we did have, we were able to distribute to everybody. We had the containers, we were ready for that to give to all the friends and family. And then I had a couple recipes where I was planning on, okay, I want extra, and it was my first turducken, but I want extra turducken because I want to take it and I want to make gumbo out of it later. So I want to make sure I'm going to have enough for that gumbo later. And so I think a lot of it is really just kind of looking at it weeks beforehand rather than the week of, right? And so we're 3 weeks out now. And so here's your reminder, start thinking about it.
And to that point too, Jimmy, we've got to want to try to keep it simple too, right? I mean, I think you can attest to this, that having been in worked in kitchens and seen all these great dishes, we want to really kick up our Thanksgiving dinners and really impress our friends and family, when that's really kind of not the point of the Thanksgiving holiday, and the Thanksgiving dinner. And it's just doing mashed potatoes right, making them good, but they don't have to be a poblano creme fraiche with bacon or something like that. They can just be really tasty, buttery potatoes, or even buttermilk potatoes. A quart of buttermilk is cheaper than a pound of butter, and you can make potatoes taste really, really good with buttermilk, very little butter, you know? And so, it's also, kind of keeping it familiar, right? I mean, you might jump into a dish that you've never tried before, and before you know it, spent $50 on a
Yeah,
dish,
and all these
possibly.
ingredients that are now sitting in
Yeah.
your cabinet, like, what am I gonna do with this? Like,
Or it doesn't turn out or something,
yeah, yeah,
So,
or nobody likes it.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
and on that note of familiar, though, like the whole point of you know Thanksgiving, harvest dinners, and everything, from the beginning, even before it was Thanksgiving, was really just to have comfort food and have food with your family and your friends, and enjoy the fruits of your labor from all the work that has happened in the year. And this year specifically, there's been a lot of stress and work and everything. And so, let's take that
yeah.
time and just enjoy what is familiar to us, and just let's. You don't have to be crazy with your recipes. Now, I'm not saying don't try something new if you really want to, though. But we're talking about
Oh
we're,
no, no,
we're
yeah,
talking about
not
keeping this down
discouraging.
on a budget.
Yeah. But so, Alicia, when it comes to this time of year, like Jimmy was saying the other day, a lot of times supermarkets will have meats on sale or something like that. So, is there one particular protein you like to go for? Not even, you buy maybe for Thanksgiving and then maybe for Christmas or later on, but is there one particular, you know, meat, or what's your strategy? You like clipping coupons, looking for the ads, or you just, this is my recipe and go to the store and get it?
No, that's a great question. Definitely love the coupons, and those come in the mail sometimes, or are attached to different things. Something that I, for years, have done, and I don't know your thoughts on this, you two, as the experts, but one of the things that when we were planning for the gift cards, right, to include in the fall baskets, that I thought would be really helpful was I would use whatever money I had to buy like those rotisserie chickens, even like the pre-made ones, because those can go a long way for a
Oh,
lot of different things.
Oh
so
yeah,
many
I
different
got a
ways.
recipe next
Right.
week that we're gonna do with the rotisserie chicken. So keep an eye out for that
Oh,
one.
that's perfect. That's perfect. No, so that was always something for me that was really just easy and affordable. And as I was listening to you talk too, I'm also curious about both of your perspective on this. Um, Finding the most affordable ways to make this meal, but I always liked having at least a little bit of leftovers because you could stretch it, if you needed to, for a lot of different purposes. And in my mind, I always justified, like, even if this is a lot, like this could get me through the week, right? Or this can
Yeah,
get me through the weekend,
Sure.
say if you're just by yourself or whatnot. So
Yeah.
I'm a fan of
yeah.
that too.
No, I'm not
No,
saying no
I,
leftovers. I'm saying just plan your leftovers and like have a plan for
Yeah.
it. Now, to be honest, though, in my family, all the leftovers get eaten no matter what, because I absolutely love stuffing, and I only eat stuffing or dressing once a year.
Same.
And if I have it in the fridge, I'm gonna eat it. But there's some really cool recipes, and we're actually going to do another episode of Rogue Kitchen the week after Thanksgiving on some leftover recipes, what you can do with leftovers. Um,
how do you
yeah,
leftovers?
yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
My
awesome.
go-to Thanksgiving leftover is to save some turkey and do a really solid gumbo. And that's
mm,
for the last couple of years I've done that, and I'll continue that tradition for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of like our first episode of Rogue Kitchen was taking a rotisserie chicken and turning that into a chicken tikka masala curry
Yeah.
dish. And so, you can do the same thing with leftover turkey. Maybe put it on potatoes. I don't know, but you always put it on some rice
Actually,
or
a
something.
tikka
Uh,
masala turkey sounds delicious. I would
yeah,
totally do that. And
yeah,
actually, to the same point, my chicken dumpling soup that I'll be doing with rotisserie chicken next week could also be done with the turkeys.
yeah,
So leftover turkey or
yeah.
No,
whatever.
this is going to be really weird, but I'm curious of your thoughts and anyone else's thoughts on this. But last year, I don't know if this happens to anybody, but Thanksgiving dinner or fall dinner, whatever you call it, is the best, as we're talking about. But it does get to a point where you're like, okay, like what's next? So last year, my family and we actually transitioned some of our leftovers into a turkey pasta dish. And it was actually really delicious, in case anyone's curious.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you can do anything with leftovers.
Yeah.
Again, as long as you get creative with it and plan to use it. But I don't think anybody actually plans meals for the entire week after Thanksgiving week. So
True.
Well, then, you know, if you plan for leftovers or try to, and then you buy that additional product, and then you're like, I just want to heat up some turkey and gravy.
Yeah.
You know, and then make leftovers, and maybe you've got some extra product hanging around then too.
Yeah.
But you know, it's.
And so, actually, on that note of the rotisserie chicken, you know, I was in. Let's say you're used to cooking these recipes for 8 to 16 people, but this year we're dropping down to 6 people. You know, only 2 households and close family members. So you don't have too much leftovers and you don't throw them away. You do want to take a look at the servings though, and like you do want to scale it back a little bit, because like if you have the one recipe that you always do, and 20 people always finish it or have some leftovers, and you're dropping down to 6 or 8, then you're gonna have way too many leftovers, and so we definitely need to address that. So do definitely look at the servings of your recipes and scale it back based on how many guests you're actually going to have this year. And a couple of ways you can do that with traditional turkey is, I mean, you can do the whole turkey like normal. You can get relatively small turkeys, but then you could also think about just doing a turkey breast roast. A lot of times you can buy the turkey breast with the wing, or just a dark meat quarter, where it's the thigh and the leg. And I've seen that at Sprouts all the time, and they actually have that outside of fall season. And oftentimes I'll get that and just do a roast turkey breast for my kids. And so there's ways so you don't have to buy the entire turkey and spend all that money on the turkey and time to prep it and everything. If you're cooking for a smaller group, then you can scale it down and just do a quarter or even just an eighth where it's just the breast or just a leg or something if you have a really small group. Or if you have everybody who just loves dark meat like me, all you get is thighs and legs, which is kind of awesome. Then you don't have all this other stuff that you don't want to eat.
Absolutely. I think that's great. You know, you're putting that gift card in the basket, you know, and again, that's something that people can look at is rather than buying, you know, a whole $20 bird or something or whatever, you know, then they can, like Jimmy was saying, go for something a little smaller so you make it stretch a little bit more, and you still get that nice, you know, that wonderful turkey in there, but you can, you know, use your funds for for a few
stretch those
things.
funds a little bit further. Yeah, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, but you know, scheduling things out and prepping your sides. I like to say, and I mean, this comes just from working in restaurants, working at a saute station, like cook everything up to 80% and then do that last 20% a la minute or the day of or within the last couple hours, you know. If just get everything to a point where you can, it's that last step where you're just finishing everything. So like with your potatoes, you could boil your potatoes ahead of time and then you could just put them in the oven to reheat them and, you know, wrap them and steam them. Or like for your stuffing, dice all your veg and saute it all and have that in a container. So that way the morning of, you're just kind of dumping everything in. And just thinking about those little things that you can do ahead of time, pack it, put in a Ziploc bag or vacuum seal it, and then put it in the fridge and have it ready to go. So when you like come day of, and for the big meal, you can just cut things open jars up, dump them in, mix it up, have it ready to go, and then you're really just kind of reheating, but then finishing what you should be finishing, you know, and like topping your casserole or your green bean casserole right before it goes in, because you can make that, throw it in the fridge, store it for a couple of days, top it, throw it in the oven, good to go. So yeah, think about those things that you can do earlier ahead of time. Same thing with desserts. Do your decoration and garnish. Like have the decoration and garnish just ready to go. So you're really just kind of cutting, serving, and garnishing. Do you do it? So what kind of prep do you do ahead of time, Jason?
Oh, and like, you know, I was brine the turkey.
Oh, yeah.
I do the caramelized onion gravy. Usually make that a day or two ahead of time. I've actually made mashed potatoes like 3 days ahead of time, and then like the day of, you know, I'll put put them into a pan, cover them with plastic and foil, and pop them in the oven for about an hour to an hour and a half at like 300 degrees, kind of while the turkey is resting, and that kind of heats them up, quite nicely.
Now you say,
or you can
before you move on, I heard you say plastic and foil, and I know that'll freak some people out, putting plastic in the oven, right?
Yeah, but believe it or not, if you put plastic wrap on a dish and then cover it with foil, you can put it into a hot oven and it won't burn the plastic.
Yeah, so it actually like protects it, and then it actually kind of locks down on it and keeps all that steam in there. And when we're in restaurants,
I would have never known that.
we always do plastic wrap and then foil over it, and as long as you cover all the plastic, you're good to go. And yeah, like it just makes like a nice sealed container for it.
Oh yeah, and it comes off like one big lid too.
Yep.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I had no idea about that either.
Oh yeah. I just like to make pies ahead of time. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother used to make pecan pie, and that's my favorite.
I love pecan pie.
It used to drive me nuts because I couldn't get into the pecan pie until the day of, but she would have them out sitting on her freezer in the laundry room 2 days ahead of time.
Yeah, last year for our Let's Talk Turkey event, we had a pecan pie, stuffed pie, like hand pies. We did like little hand pies, but then we also took them and just stuffed them in mushroom tins and just put some puff pastry in a mushroom tin and then filled it with the pecan filling. Those were some of the best desserts I've had in 2 to 3 years. Honestly, they were so good. And then the
kind of as a last minute, we'll just do that. We'll try this.
Yeah,
it worked. It was great.
All right, and so actually, yeah, here's another kind of leads into something else I want to talk about. Alternative dishes. We have the traditional turkey and everything, but I want to talk about like some of the different things that we do. I know Dean Hardegree, when we told her we were going to do this, she gave us her recipe that she does, and it's a seared shrimp salad with salt and pepper, butter, lettuce, feta cheese, dried cranberries, and white balsamic. We should get her to do a video on that. Calling you out right now.
Yes.
So yeah, we should like what different kind of things do you do? Like in my household, we're gonna start this tradition this year, but my grandmother passed a few years back, and we always used to go to her house first, and she would have a full Filipino spread. There would be lumpia, pancit, adobo, siopao, all kinds of Filipino food and traditional turkey food, or like regular fall dinner foods. But I would only eat all the Filipino food because knowing that we're going to my wife's house, my wife's parents' house, to have the traditional Thanksgiving dinner. And so this year we're actually going to do that. Actually, the week before we're going to do a little dinner with a couple of neighbors, and we're going to do kind of harken back to our childhoods or tradition, and kind of have a place for that. So that's what I'm going to do, some pancit and lumpia, which is a Filipino noodle dish with sauteed veggies and different, usually like ground pork or something. And then lumpia are the most amazing little Filipino egg rolls that are super crunchy and delicious. So, Alicia, is there something that you have done for a fall harvest dinner, Thanksgiving dinner that is not normal?
I would say so. So, when you introduced me at the beginning, my last name's Milanowski, which is Polish by nature. And so something that we would have off and on, and I have it all the time, so it doesn't have to be specific to this, but something that I'm completely biased by is pierogies. You can have dessert pierogies, you can put anything in a pierogi, actually. So, and I personally think they're hard to mess up if you're making them from scratch, just because you can do anything with it. But little Polish dumplings are something that I think I would mention.
Nice. Have you ever been to the pierogi factory? That place is amazing.
I haven't. So we've gotten them since I've lived I'm from California originally, but since living in Colorado, we've tried all sorts of different pierogies here, but I haven't actually been to a Polish restaurant here to eat them, but we just take them to go.
Okay.
They're delicious.
Yeah. Oh, you could even do a leftover pierogi afterwards.
You could. That would be something good to actually put a bunch of
Yeah, a
different
little
things
cranberry,
into.
some
Yeah.
potato, and a little piece of turkey.
Oh man.
I would totally eat that.
With the gravy.
Oh yeah, a little gravy in there.
Oh man.
I think I'm gonna have to try
How
that
about
this
that?
year.
That's an awesome idea.
How about you, Jason?
As a kid, I grew up in an Italian family. This time on my mom's side, and we have a ravioli recipe that my great grandparents brought over from Torino, Italy, and so I had a great aunt that would make the ravioli dish all the time, and it's seemingly there was never enough to go around to everybody. I mean, this is an Italian farm family, so everybody got the turkey and mashed potatoes, but everybody always fought over the raviolis, and who got the last of it. And every once in a while, my family, my mom and dad and I, we would get the last bit of ravioli to take home, and but for the most part, it was always consumed at the table. But as I got older, and just before my grandmother passed away, I had the opportunity to make the ravioli recipe with my mom and my grandma.
Oh, that's awesome.
Something that it was very, very special. And, so kind of showed, kind of developed or kind of made the raviolis in a different way, I guess. But, pork and spinach raviolis with beef roast.
Oh,
Those are
nice.
not traditional Thanksgiving.
But see,
dish.
that's what we were talking about earlier, though. Is keep it familiar. Like that's what people want. Is that meal or that dish that they've been craving all year long, and they finally get it on this one day. Don't deprive them of that. Yeah, and so some other dishes that I like, friends and family, they do. I know my neighbor across the street, when they do a fall dinner, they do um, green chili. So every person makes a different green chili, and they just sit there and taste different green chilies all day long. I've had tamales at some Thanksgivings, even a goulash too. And then, like some of the more Native American dishes, like a Three Sister salad, where you have like the squash and corn and beans and everything, or like a corn pudding. We used to do this at a bistro that I worked at. We did a amaranth corn pudding, and I was looking at the recipe, and it reminded me of the corn stock that you were talking about making, Jason, back in one of the episodes. I forget what we were doing, but he said save your corn, your corn cobs, and make some corn stock later. Yeah. But yeah, we used to do that at the bistro, and we'd make corn stock and then use an amaranth grain to thicken it. It was delicious. But yeah, going back to your note on Polish food, Alicia, Susan Conder, she's watching. She recommended Cracovia in Westminster, and I've been there, and that place is amazing too. And yeah, definitely delicious. Similarly, there's also Golden Europe just up by my house, and they have some of the best schnitzel and liver dumpling soup I've ever had.
I was just thinking. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
There's a place in Aurora. I cannot remember the name of it. I've been there once years ago, but I know there's a good Polish restaurant in Aurora too that has like great sausages and side dishes and stuff. So I'll have to look it up again. I can't remember the name now. But.
I'm always down for Polish food. I was just thinking though, I don't know if either one of you had planned to mention this, so virtually slap my hand if you did. But something that I am so grateful for that I had the pleasure of in college trying, we did a lot of, rather than making a big meal, we would have different people bring different dishes. And I will never forget one of the individuals who lived in an apartment down the street from me brought mac and cheese and collard greens to a Thanksgiving dinner. And I just thought those were so delicious. That was so new to me having that, but I know it's a part of a lot of different family's dinner and might be something also that would be good for students to make.
I do love collard greens.
Definitely.
That's definitely one of my
That's
favorite
huge.
dishes. I usually make a
In the
large
South.
batch of that in the around New Year's. Collard greens and black-eyed peas.
Yeah. It's a good luck meal in the South. So
She was from Louisiana, so that makes sense.
that is, that's spot on.
All right. Well, very cool. Unless anybody else has any other tips for making a meal on a budget, I think we kind of covered the gamut. Well, I guess we kind of skipped over the whole couponing and ads thing. I mean, we talked about it briefly, but there's one thing during the holiday season that I'm not usually a couponer. I do look at ads sometimes, but sometimes I just don't have the energy to flip through it. I should, but specifically during the holidays, though, there's always rib roasts, and mostly more towards December. But you can get a massive rib roast at $5 a pound instead of $15 a pound. And I literally buy 2 or 3 of them and throw them in the freezer, and then have them like in January, February, March. Like we'll just have random delicious rib roast meals throughout. So, shop those deals, buy that turkey on Friday, on Black Friday or the week after, the last few turkeys and hams that are sitting there, snatch those up and throw them in your freezer, and then use them, in the coming months. And you can take a turkey and break it down into those pieces and use it as smaller components for something, or you can take a ham and cut chunks off and freeze the individual chunks, and then use that to do split pea soup or ham and bean or anything else. And so wait till after the holidays to snatch up those deals and put it in your freezer and have fun for the next couple of months.
I'll be sure in the next couple days too on the finding affordable ways to grab food too, just in case students are interested. If you are a SNAP recipient, if you end up getting that support, there's often really cost-effective ways and specific deals and specific inventory dedicated during these times to those individuals who are using their SNAP benefits. So I'll be sure in the next couple days to put some SNAP discounts that I'm aware of on our website. That way, if students want to see like what they can get potentially out of that, those will be up there as well.
Oh, that's great.
That would be a great resource.
All right. Anybody have anything else they want to say?
Alicia, you have anything else to add?
No, I'm just so thankful to be here. Thank you, both of you, for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for everything you do for our students. Jason and I are both Roadrunner alumni, and it's an honor to come back and work for MSU Denver and to be able to serve our students the way that we do, and the way you and your office do. It makes me proud.
Right back at you.
And I'm going to steal a tagline from Mackenzie if she's watching. Her and Dean Hardgree came up with it, but stay safe and stay rowdy. We'll see you later.
Stay safe, stay rowdy. There you go. Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you.